Hi, and welcome to BremSter Puzzles, and back to the Sudokétudes series of puzzles. This is the second puzzles in Sudokétudes set 6, which is a classic Sudoku called Peat Bog. Again, one I do not remember. I would have made this one months ago. So this one will be slightly harder than the puzzle that I did yesterday, but I don't feel the need to go through everything in the same level of detail, explaining how pencil marks and everything works. If you are new to Sudoku, then I highly recommend the first puzzles in any Sudokétudes set. There'll be a link below to where you can find all the Sudokétudes sets and everything to find the right ones. And they will probably help you understand some of the basics. I will go through in detail how all the logic works, however. Of course, there'll be a link below to where you can find this puzzle to solve it yourself, or as well as to the entire Sudokétudes archive. Let's have a look at the puzzle. So this is a classic Sudoku. So we have normal Sudoku rules apply. So in every box, in every row, and in every column, the digits 1 to 9 must be placed without repetition. That's all. I'm going to restart the puzzle to restart my timer. Let's give this a shot. So I can see 1 and 1 are looking up, meaning 1 has to be in one of those two cells. 1 and 1 is looking across, saying 1 has to be in one of those two cells. 1 can't be in any of those. So 1 is in one of those two cells, which actually makes this a 1, looking across saying that's not the 1, that's the 1. 1 is not in any of those, so 1 is in those, and that doesn't get me any further. 3 and 3 means 3 is in one of those two. 3 and 3 means 3 would be in one of those two, but it can't also be there. So that's a 3, eliminating 3 from there. So that's a 3 by pencil marks. 3 is in one of those two, but 3 by pencil mark, or 3 is in one of those two. This 3 says this isn't the 3, this is the 3, removing that 3. That's a 3, and that's all of the 3's done. Okay. These two 4s are doing a lot of work because that 4 is removing 4 from those. That 4 is removing 4 from those. Those can't be a 4. So 4 is in one of those two, which means 4 is in one of those two. But this 4 is looking across saying that's not the 4. That's the 4, which would put 4 in one of those two, except that 4 is looking down saying not there. So that's the 4, which means this is the 1 by pencil marks, which means 1 is in one of those two. And now I don't know the order, but those are the final places that I can put a 1. This is down to a triple. I actually quite like pencil marking triples. So this is 5, 6, or 8. And this one can't be a 5. So I know 5 is in one of those two. So 5 is not in any of those. 5 has to be in one of those two, but it can't be there. That's actually a 5. Cool. So that means 5 is in one of those two. Okay. Getting some quick progress here. Haven't looked at 2s. It would normally be a thing for me to start with the low digits and work up, but sometimes I trick myself. 4 isn't in any of those, so 4 is in one of those two. 4 isn't in any of those or there, so that's the 4. Looking up saying that's not the 4, so that's the 4. Looking across saying that's not the 4, so that's the 4. 4 and 4 means 4 is not in any of those, and that 4 says 4 is not there. 4 goes slap bang into the center of the grid, and that's all of the 4s. 8 can't be in any of those, and those are already filled. So 8 is in one of those two. That's the only 8 I've got, though. So I don't think that's where I'm looking. 9 can't be in those or those because of these two 9s. So that's the 9 because these are already filled. This is down to a triple now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 have to go into those. Ooh, that's not restricted, is it? I do have a 2 in one of these now. So 2 has to be in one of those two, and therefore 2 is in one of those two. This is actually 2, 6, 8. 2, 6, 8 because of the column. This row is restricted as well. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 6, 8, 9. And there's no 8 there. Ooh, okay. Is it this row? I'm not sure. 2 is in one of those two because of the 2 looking up. You know, that doesn't seem to be it. In this box, I haven't placed 2, 5, 6, and 7. No. Where's 9 in this box? I was about to say what digits haven't been placed, and I was working through it, and I see 9 can't be there and 9 can't be in those. So this is a 9, which puts 9 in one of those two, but that 9 looks down saying not there. That's a 9. So, but these are now 5, 7, and 8. But this is now a triple because these are 6 digits. So these can only be 3 different digits, 2, 5, and 8. And there's a 5, 8 here. So that's the 2. There's no 2 in either of those. That's the 2, which means this isn't the 2. This is the 2. But if this is a 5, 8, which I'm not quite seeing how to resolve, I can't use 5, 8 in any of those. So those are 1, 6, and 7. So these are 1, 6, 7. And there's no 1, and there's no 7 in either of those. So that's the 6, that's the 1, that's the 7. The 1 is looking up saying no 1 there, that's the 1. So this is only 5 or 8, and it can't be a 5 because it needs to be 5, 8 for the column. So that's 8. This is not 8, which looks down making that 5 and that 8. This has to be 6 or 9. And the 9 looks up making that the 6 and that the 9, taking 9 out of both of those. This is pretty cool. So this is going to be mostly resolved. If I look at this column, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't have a 6, so that's the 6. And now this box is missing a 5 and a 7. The 6, of course, is saying that's not a 6. 6 has to be in one of those two now, which puts 6 in one of those two because these are 5, 6, 7 for the row. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8, 9. These are 5, 6, 7, but this can't be a 6 because of the 6 looking up. So this is the only place I can put 6 in the row. Okay. I'm seeing potential 5, 7 restrictions all over the place, but is this a 2, 6? This is a 2, 6, 8 triple. These can only be from 2, 6, 8. That can only be from 2, 6. That is 2, 6, 8 triple, which means if I was to use a 6 here, that would be an 8. This would be 8 and 6 and 8, and those would both have to be 2. If I was to use an 8 here, that'd be a 6, and both of those would need to be a 2. That can't be a 6 or an 8. That has to be the 7, which takes 7 out of both of those, making that the 8, that the 6. That's cool. These are now 2 and 7 in order to complete the box. I've done a mistake up here. This is still a 7. If I take 7 out of here, this can't, I must have done a typo. This is the 8, this is the 6, and I take 6 out of here. These are 2 and 7. Sorry, I did a typo up here is what I did. These are 2 and 7. This is a 5, 6, 8 triple. So I've got 1, 2 approximately placed, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's no 9 approximately placed. I can't put 9 here. I can't put 9 here. I can't put 9 in any of those or any of those. Basically, 9 has to be in one of those 3. That's already a 1, and I can't put 9 there because of that. That has to be a 9. I could have used the 2, 6, 8 triple to get that. There's all sorts of ways I could have done it. The 6 and the 8, of course, looks across making that the 2, and I can take 2 out of there. That is a 6, 8 pair. So this is known. This is 5 and 7. And I'm getting all sorts of link ups I could do. Like I know those would need to be the same digit. I know those need to be the same digit. There's all sorts of connections I can do there. This 6 is looking across, making that the 8, that the 6, that the 8, that the 6. The 8 takes the 8 out of those. These are a 5, 6, but the 6, of course, is making that the 5 and that the 6. The 5 and the 8 means that's the 7, and I can take 7 out of both of those. The 7 is looking up, making that the 5, that the 7, and that the 5. Really nice. These are 2, 8, and 9. There's no 2 or not. 2 and 9 are already in this column, so that has to be the 8, and I can take the 8 out. The 9 is looking up, making that the 2 and that the 9. The 5 is looking down, making that the 8 and that the 5. The 5 is looking across, making that the 7 and that the 5. Okay, need this. This is the 2 for the column, which makes that the 7 and that the 2. And this box has got to have its 7 in its 8 place. I can use either of those to resolve that 7-8 pair. And that is the solution to the puzzle. Now, this one, while I solved it a lot faster, I feel, and that these were tested, is a step up in difficulty from the previous one. There were a little bit more tricky spots. It was just faster for me to solve because I didn't go through all of the basics in the same level of detail. But hopefully people enjoyed the puzzle. I know that most of my viewers prefer variant Sudoku, so I only tend to put a couple of classics at the start, and tomorrow we'll start with the variant Sudoku. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the puzzles, and as always, good luck with your solving.